I'd like to first invite the panelists for this session. Prem from Maru Drones, founder and CEO, is already online, visible to everyone. Vikram from Tech Eagle Innovations Private Limited is also online. Mrinal Pai, co-founder Skylark Drones. Great to have you here, Mrinal. And Govind Balakrishna, founder and CEO 10 Infinite, is also online with us on this panel today. Gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to have all of you here on this panel. And what I'm really excited about is that we are not just going to talk about manufacturing and drone manufacturing here. We also have some companies who are focused on software. And therefore, it will be really interesting to note how software companies can leverage the PLI scheme. So I'm quite excited about it. What I'll do is I'll request each one of you to go through a quick overview and share your opening remarks, and we'll dive into some of the questions that we have on our mind as far as this area is concerned. With that, Prem would request you to kickstart our conversation in this panel.
Thank you, Ankit. Hello, everyone. And thanks, Vicky, for having us. So, as a company, Maru Drones, we started our journey identifying certain problems and building the drone technology towards it. And then soon after that, we realized is the need is such a humongous. Like first, we started on the malaria eradication, then medical delivery. So we see the huge demand has been created in last 1 year, and we think this PLI scheme will create the helpful for us to suffice the demand is what we are looking at.
Thanks, Prem. Request Govind to go next.
Hey everyone, good afternoon. Thank you so much for this opportunity, first of all, to the FICCI committee and the members of the other group. And thanks, Ankit, for starting off this discussion panel. And see you and welcome all. I see the other members who have already coordinated and spoken to earlier. So my name is Govind Balakrishna. I'm the serial entrepreneur of a bunch of companies that I've done in the past. We also work with United Nations, UNESCO, and a couple of other initiatives. We raised an $800 million fund for Make in India special project initiatives as well as in the past. Drones is something that fascinated me a year and a half ago, and this kind of brought me to the new leadership in terms of what we're trying to do in this ecosystem. So we are basically, 10 Infinite is basically the aggregator of aggregators. We want to bring the best of these solutions companies to businesses. It could be any sector dealing with mapping services, drone delivery, manufacturing, all of these things. We're also connected with some of the multi-billion-dollar companies, and we bring the best of the software solutions and bring that marriage between the manufacturing segments in India to have them Make in India tag, as well as the product and services that are delivered to it. So we're quite excited that it's been very, very favorable in terms of the schemes that is running by currently, and looking forward for more opportunities as a team.
Thanks so much, Govind. Mrinal, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Ankit, and good afternoon, everyone. I am Mrinal from Skylark Drones. We are a software solution company for commercial drone applications. I think the last few months, the industry in India, the drone industry in India has seen back-to-back really positive events, starting with the relaxation of the drone rules, followed by the PLI scheme. Our belief is that in the across different markets of drones, right, and specifically in the commercial drone industry, the end buyers, right, across agriculture, mining, construction, and such end beneficiaries, not all of them are really buying drones, right? And they're buying some data or data-enabled intelligence and such, ultimately some data product, and we believe that is going to be driven by software value. And it's great to see that the PLI scheme now incentivizes software as well, and the government recognizing this is a great step is our first remarks.
Thanks, Mrinal. Vikram.
First of all, good afternoon to everyone, and thank you, Ankit and Fiki, for having all of us here. So, starting with the Tech Eagle is a deep tech startup providing end-to-end solution for drone delivery to further extend the access of logistics in terms of healthcare, hyperlocal, maritime, and e-commerce to the every part of the world, and hence creating a better world by, you can say, saving lives and improving lives. Starting with the drone rules 2021, that is a very, very big landmark move, followed by, as Mrinal said, the PLI scheme and a lot of different events which is being organized every day by MOCA and the overall industry in terms. Now, the PLI scheme definitely will benefit all of us as in startups when we are manufacturing drones, components, and softwares at certain stage when there is a turnover, when there is an initial jump start from these basically startups. So right now, I think other than the PLI scheme, the state governments, maybe the startups like us, all can support component level manufacturers and software manufacturers to start with and to achieve that scale of even 50 lakh rupees revenue. So at least they can incentivize that PLI scheme, and then further we can they can grow from there on. So I think that's where we should start, and looking forward to the session.
Thanks, Vikram. So, I want to ask a bunch of questions to all of you here. I want to kickstart the conversation with asking each of you what are the specific drones that you make, and what is the in-house value addition that you create on these systems. Just to get a flavor of what is it that largely it takes, as well as what is it that we can or the audience can look forward to supporting you guys with, particularly because PLI also covers components. It will be very useful. Why don't we go ahead with Prem first?
Thank you. We have established 4 use cases with the drone in last 4 years. First is the spraying drone, which can be used for the mosquito larvae eradication and for the agriculture purpose, but with a different kind of the payload changes to it and everything. Second, we recently also completed the Vikarabad, so we built a heavy payload delivery drone and a long range drones both, so for delivery purpose. And third is for the reforestation, to scale the reforestation activities. We have been running a campaign, multi-state campaign, so we are building the drones for the reforestation. The fourth is in agriculture, the drone is like a tractor. So you have a drone, but you have to have a different payloads for spraying, seeding, sparking, and pollination. So we have built some different kind of payloads so that they can mount it and you can use multi-purpose at the rural level itself. These are the 4 different kind of things which we are building it in last 4 years.
And what are the key areas of validation that you do in-house? What is your core area of expertise, and what is the ecosystem? What can the ecosystem look forward to in terms of contributing to your efforts?
So presently we are doing designing and assembling and building the payloads. Still we have been actively reaching out to all the component manufacturers in India, so because we want to first people to adopt the indigenous components like motors, like propellers, or the batteries, which the fellow the startups can do it in India. So, but majorly we were particular on the establishing use case and designing and assembling to it and building the payloads. Payloads are 100% designed by us now.
Perfect. Thanks, Prem. Govind, how about you?
Okay, so to be honest, we are actually new in this space of manufacturing, but we have quite an experienced team that we are kind of onboarding. And we basically work with collaborative kind of a business model. So basically bringing the best of solutions technology, and we're also working with certain contract manufacturing companies that basically helps us with building the ecosystem and scale much faster because we are new into the system. Having said that, our core focus are on 2 areas. One, it's quite different. We're actually getting into the drone toy segment. That's one of the categories that we are strongly focused on. Scale up infrastructure already built around it. The other side is very interestingly is the defense sector, right? Because that's where the market is also moving. The country needs support in terms of all the regulations and the kind of other differentiations that are happening. So our focus is on these two areas in terms of the manufacturing support that we want to bring in. So we bring in the best components that is available here in India, and we kind of bring that marriage of collaboration of technology from outside. It could be with companies like Boeing and NASA and other companies going forward. So our goal is to establish that we also take certain problem statements of what's happening in the environment around and come with certain solutions that could be good for all or specific to certain sectors or industries, right? So that's our unique approach of how we take it case by case, and that's our approach of doing things.
Thanks so much, Govind. Rinal, what are your views? What do you guys do? And it'd be great to sort of share a little bit more light on the software aspects. It'd be fun to understand from you how you are approaching this.
Right, Ankit. So in terms of what we do at Skylark, we are a software stack on top of drones to enable commercial applications. A completely drone agnostic platform is the vision of our software. We believe the hardware that is required to do commercial applications, right? And commercial applications across largely agriculture, inspections, land survey mapping, right? What was mentioned even in the previous discussion. We believe it's a solved problem more or less. While innovation continues to happen, the hardware as a solution has been available from over 5-6 years now, right? And like I mentioned, what the end user is buying is some insights from the information captured by these drones. And so we kind of build two products at Skylark. We have a drone fleet management software, which essentially kind of eases out operations for a drone pilot. We believe drone piloting is no longer a specialized skill job. Today, we see a lot of local employees being hired by mining companies, construction companies, and upskilling is now only becoming easier over time because a lot of the operations of flying a drone is done by the software inherently, right? And so that's one product we built, what we call the fleet management software for drones. And we also have a data analytics product. It is not really a drone based alone. It's specific to industry that we cater to. We, for example, cater to mining, construction, and energy, where drone data is one of the data types. We support all sorts of remote sensing data to give specific industry insights. So this software stack on top of drones, where drone is a tool to collect data, is what we are building at Scala.
Thanks, Rinal. Vikram, like we already know, you are building drones for logistics. What are the specific areas where you are adding value?
Definitely, Ankit. So when it comes to delivering goods with the drones, economics needs to be also made, you can say, feasible. And that's where Techical is actually innovating by creating heavy duty. Heavy duty means large payload. Large payload is like a 50 kg and 100 kg kind of a payload. And a long range where it is like 100 kilometer to 300 kilometer. And that's where the not only the assembly and not only the rotary wing and helicopter kind of a design comes in, but the fixed wing and the hybrid fusion of all these things comes in. So the Tech Eagle is innovating on building these large hybrid aircrafts starting from 0 to 1. While the component manufacturing is not being done house, but the entire design to development of the aircrafts are happening in house, and as well as the software stack. As other colleagues were also saying, the fleet management is also being done by in-house team and the aircraft manufacturing. So these are the two areas where we are, let's say, creating the in-house value. And in next 2 to 3 years, we will be developing, let's say, the end-to-end solution up to 60% in-house. And the aim is to indigenously, let's say, procure and develop 90 to 95% of the entire system, even at the component level. And that's where we are speaking to the local startups, right, who are bringing at the component level. So that's how we are moving ahead. And in next 1 to 2 year, we definitely see that the growth will go from 30-40% indigenous components in all these startups to 60-70% and more.
Thanks, Vikram. So one question that comes to my mind is that with the opening up of the sector, and I know that, as startups, all of us have struggled tremendously with business in this space. So with the opening up, how's the environment changed, and what is your sense of how the volumes will grow from here? Uh, Prem, what are your thoughts? How is it really impacting on ground for you today?
So basically, what we started with a more of a solving a problem kind of a thought process. So we built a trust among the people that a drone can be really helpful for a purpose. Starting with, like example, when we started doing in 2018 onwards, there are 24,000 dengue cases. Today we have only 600. So where we are managing over 180 lakes and 53 kilometers of entire Musi in Hyderabad, and now we are scaling to other states. Basically, there is a trust factor where drone can really help, where like 20 people, 30 people work for a 20 acres. Like example, in 1/15th of a time or 1/15th of a cost, it's been doing it. So efficiency wise, cost wise, they've seen a difference. Second, what we saw was the deforestation, where people can't access. Drone could have been, we were identifying deforested areas and we were planting it, where huge difference, like where as a country we wanted to increase the green cover or do it and everything. So and corona has really helped the drone industry actually, because the all people were using the drones for surveillance and for different activities in COVID, and after the locust and all the new rules like the drone rules and everything, actually it could have been taken 3 to 5 years, have cut short, and in a year we saw huge progress. Now everybody thinks why are not using drone, like even in you'll see in your court judgments also, why are not adopting drones, or in you see very often saying that why are still using people like for transmission, why can't you adopt a drone and simplify it. So that's a change you could see, like how honorable minister says parallel with the internet, it's going to be like that, and we're going to see huge change once we have this 5G and edge computing and all this comes into thing. Then that edge level processing happens. I think you'll see that like people have never thought drone could do these things, like in
So,
that we could see.
so Prem, do you think that you will see scale on applications where you've proven the business case, or do you expect scale to happen in all use cases?
So all the use cases scale will happen is because example for each use case at least we have 1,000 demand, because if I solved in problem in Hyderabad, the same problem like is everywhere. So replication happens. So we have created the demand and the need. Now these PLI schemes or all these policies are really helping to scale to different states and also increase the demand majorly. So definitely all use cases are particular. That's why we are trying to see the societal problems. And it's not just the drone. There's the data or the more of the technology which is enabling it. So that the drone is a poster boy, and drone is actually the 60% of the actual work what it does.
Understood. Rinal, how about you? What's your experience been particularly on the software side on this in this piece?
Right, Ankit. So I think what's happened since the last 1 year, I think the awareness around drones has really shot up. I think the first event was COVID, like Prem mentioned, where a lot of remote monitoring and need for that has really spiked. And with now awareness, the larger blocker was regulations, right? We as the community, we always kept saying regulation is the hindrance for the growth, and with that being removed, I think we'll see sort of what happened. I mean, in a much larger way, but what happened kind of during when the ban on drones was there, right? 2014, 2018. I think that's when we saw a lot of growth while the rules were not there. Well, people could go to a local police, and I'm not sure if they could do that, but that's what happened, right? Where people took local police permissions and were flying drones, and where we saw a lot of service providers coming in. The entry barrier to being a drone service provider is only going to be lower now. You buy a drone, you buy some software, you can fly drones for different applications, right? And I think that on the supply side, where we believe that there are already a lot of small time drone service providers coming up now, and we believe that is going to increase. And largely, what has changed in the overall picture is the demand itself. Whereas few years ago, I'm sure you'll relate to this, Ankit, where we started off with explaining what a drone is, right, and what a drone could do. Now the awareness is a lot higher. It's now more on what is the modality of engagement, why am I buying software, right? So I think which are right questions to answer right now for us.
Absolutely, Mrinal. Vikram, what are your thoughts, particularly since drone-based deliveries has been a holy grail, if I may say, for drones. And what's your experience and a little bit of light on what your struggles have been over the last couple of years in trying to establish this use case?
Since even we started, Kit, I think you rightly said the fascination was always there, and that kind of ideal demand was always there, but the regulations couldn't allow, as Mrinal was also saying. But that demand is now converting into the right kind of use cases that where it can generate some real value. And I mean, the regulations are also favorable now. So earlier, I mean, before let's say 6 months, we even couldn't imagine to go and approve that use case, right? We couldn't do the POCs of the deliveries and all those aspects. But now, at least, it's a feasible thing. And now the people are thinking about economies of scale, that how it will actually make sense and compete with the ground logistics. And now, even in the ground logistics, coming up with the EVs, which are competing with the petroleum-based, you can say, ground logistics. So the problems and the hurdles which we have been having till now was the regulation, and now the demand is a lot faster growing and the supply is also there now. What needs to be there is in the drone delivery segment the right unit economics. As I mean, whoever will bring that particular thing, I think will win the game in this segment.
Absolutely, Vikram. I think you're reflecting what I've been feeling about drone delivery space for a while now, that the unit economics has to catch up for this to really become mainstream. Mrinal, one question that I have for you is that we see a mention of software companies can also apply for the PLI scheme. How would you compete local value addition for your software piece if you were to apply and gain benefit of the PLI scheme?
And I think the good part about PLI scheme is that it recognizes software and services. I think there are a few numbers mentioned in the press release, right, where 10,000 direct jobs from manufacturing sector over the next 3 years, but 5 lakh jobs from services and software, right? And I think that's a great recognition of what the local value addition that can happen, and so services largely driven by manufacturing and software, right? And I think there's a huge scope, tremendous scope for that to be made in India, not only for India but for the global market. Like we said, our vision is that regardless of what drones are being used, right, there is a potential for a software platform to be agnostically of the drone, and which is, I think, the great way to move forward, because hopefully that we will see a majority of Indian drone manufacturers, and given that manufacturers.
But particularly in software, Mrinal, what I wanted you to shed some light is so one is sale of software versus input cost. What would you rate as your direct input costs for software sales? Is there something which is clear? Do you think that one will need more clarity on that subsequently?
To be honest, the input towards software cost is something that while I agree, we don't have really specifics on how the scheme would really work out for a company like us at this point. But we believe that is something that can be figured out. Use for software has been availed in the past from in other sectors, where the input cost is still largely your costs of manpower and other software affiliate costs, which are still you are bearing that cost in the Indian geography, right? And that being said, while we do not have 100% clarity, we believe in the spirit of the policy that should be solved for.
Absolutely. So it'll be fun. So since I see a lot of companies here who are starting out on this journey as well, are there any questions that you have in your mind that you would like to get answered for the PLI scheme? This is an exact reverse of what is expected. But are there any burning questions that you feel need attention broadly on the scheme? Anyone?
So when this PLI scheme definitely is like a big boom for the manufacturers, all the OEMs. But do you think that that egg and chicken problem again? That how can that first bit, even when I started the conversation, that how that particular component manufacturer will grow to the scale of 50 lakh revenue, who is just starting now, who is not in any other business, And I mean, how do you think that the government, the local startups, and the investors, and how the ecosystem can support those kind of players? That is the kind of a burning question which we have.
So, if I were to take a shot at it, Vikram, I would say that anybody who is starting out today should start out with something innovative, which is adding value to the ecosystem. And obviously, overnight they cannot take benefit of the space, but probably they can. Uh, I'll bring you in, Mukul. Absolutely, just give me a second. So they can, though, become a part of the scheme in the subsequent year. So there is the threshold remains the same, the entry point remains the same. It's not increasing as an entry point. In fact, for all other PLI schemes, the entry point actually keeps becoming larger and larger. But as long as you clear the threshold, you're eligible for the scheme in that year, and you can take advantage of it in whichever year you will reach the threshold. And as long as you're building something innovative, I do expect that the desire and the strong desire should be to replace and do better than what we are receiving from outside. So I think as long as we are committed to that, there will be local demand because you will be adding more value to the end customer, right? By default. Mukul, go ahead.
In just addition to what Vikram asked, Ankit, I would like to ask you, right? I've been following electronics for a while now, and drone is a part of the electronics ecosystem altogether. Do you think startups should look confidently towards collaborating with the likes of Idea Foods, Reliance, or for that matter, Adani? And if yes, what's the best way they can pitch out to the likes of you to collaborate on these fronts?
Mukul, great question. Actually, we don't talk a lot about what we do for indigenization internally in Idea Forge and for collaboration. And that's particularly because the nature of our job is also a little bit, it's not easy to just open up about what all we are doing. But a vast majority of our supply chain is actually indigenized. And we are already working with local suppliers to build a lot of other elements for us wherever required. I personally believe that, and that's why I keep insisting on innovation, that if somebody brings anything to me that adds value, better value to my end customer, I think, price is a matter of discovery, but we feel very excited to take it to our end customer, because if something is adding value to our end customer, we don't want to be we are in a way the custodian of his trust, that we will bring the best possible to him in that one sense. So therefore we are very, very open, and people can reach out to us on our email addresses on the website, and typically we do at least have a conversation. We even under specific NDAs share our requirements, and let people come back to us and see if they can actually help meet our baseline requirement. And sometimes when the baseline is met, gives us the confidence to talk about what we can build further ahead. So it's actually happening in real time. We have in fact spent over a year with one of our vendors to indigenize components, because we are that keen on actually doing it anyhow if I can. So we are very open, and I'm sure that all our peers, all the large businesses are also very, very keen on actually doing this indigenization piece, right? Govind, please go ahead.
Yeah, this is very interesting because, like I said, we are a collaborative experience company where we bring the best of the technologies and have the best of the resources on board. Having said that, where are the critical areas of innovation? Because we have multiple features, components, applications today. So what areas are to be addressed according to the expert groups? I mean, fairly all the companies that I've been addressing today or talking today are fairly matured in terms of the journey that you all guys on. So this is our learning curve to understand from you guys, and also from the other panelists and other members who have joined in. So which could be the specific application areas, component areas, or probably the drone in itself, right? that we could start looking at, or you see there is a gap to be fulfilled? Because that's kind of one of the important questions that we are trying to address as well. So,
very useful. Prem, do you want to take a shot at it first, please?
Yeah, batteries, motors, propellers.
Okay.
I'll just add on to Prem what Prem said. Because these component levels will require a scale, but there are sensors which are not being manufactured at a global level, also at a large scale. And those kind of niche sensors, if somebody is focusing on those kind of a thing, then I think the cost discovery will also not be a problem if we are able to meet the right kind of requirement, and we have a scope of innovation there at a component level.
Very true. Both Prem and Vikram. Mrinal, go ahead, please. Jump in.
No, I had to post a question. So
okay. So let me just quickly respond to Govind on this.
So just I wanted to say one thing is the heart of the drone is the autopilot. I think we are just everybody's depend on the PICSOC. I really wish someone makes Indian autopilot, which is most need of the hour, so that we all are dependent so much on this PICSOC.
Yeah.
So in fact, Prem, it is unfortunate that we at IdeaForge do not make autopilot that's ready for everyone else to use, but our entire tech stack has been built grounds up. It does not even borrow the code from anything else. But we just don't have the ability to support other businesses right now, and that may change in the future. But people do make their own autopilot and when we started, and this was way back in 2004 when we built our first drone, there wasn't any open source ecosystem at all. So we really did not have any choice but to go deep down and get it there. And we see the advantage of the reliability that it offers, having built it over the last 10, 15 years consistently. Having said that, to Govind's question, Govind, I feel that personally, think about all the phones and laptops and consumer devices that we see and use every day. There is not a single, I would say, element in them that is not being researched upon or is being the boundaries being pushed. So, for me, I think I look at innovation in that cycle. That autopilot, the boundaries of what it can do will have to be pushed. Motors, we are making them in a certain way. You must have seen in the EV industry already. People are going away from the induction motors to switch reluctance motors. They are looking at not radial but axial flux motors. They are looking at all sorts of technologies to push the boundary of what's possible. And I think that infinite loop of technology pushing forward is something that all of us are actually quite excited about. At least personally, I am, because I know that the drone I'm making today is not going to be probably relevant for the market in the next 3 years. And in those 3 years, these incremental innovations as well are going to change the paradigm of what's possible with this technology. So I, for one, really look forward to innovation in each of these elements, like be it a new interesting propeller, be it a new packaging material for that matter. That's also very exciting. So I would not really limit myself, but some of the key areas have been highlighted by my team. I'd also like to highlight communications. Reliable communications are important. Reliable motor drivers are important, not just motors. There are so many small elements which add to reliability, and then they further go on to add to the user experience that matter a lot. For example, what Vikram was saying with respect to cost, one of the biggest reasons that the cost cannot be pushed ahead very fast is because the component survivability is reaching its limits to that extent. So pushing the boundary there again is going to be a massive task as far as I feel about that. Mrinal, go ahead. I take that as the last question today because we have reached the end of our time for the session today. Go ahead, Mrinal.
Thanks, Ankit. So Ankit, I had this question for everybody on the panel as well as you. With the new policy and as well as the PLI incentivization, what is your point of view on foreign direct investments coming into the sector? For example, could be a manufacturer with a proven product in other geographies, because of import relaxation and such, could potentially also set shop in India. Might have international happening, via that event as well. Do you see that happening? Do you see other manufacturers coming to India because of all of this happening in India? Or and if you do, what do you see as an opportunity, as a threat? What is your point of view on that?
So personally, I feel that it is, it is both an opportunity and a threat, as is anything in that one sense. It's an opportunity because it allows you to expand the base of component manufacturing in India. And as the base of component manufacturing, particularly when somebody is serving global demand, which is already established, it is always going to have a trickle down effect of us getting our components cheaper. So I'm quite excited about that as an opportunity, right? But at the same time, it's a threat if it is done in a manner where the local manufacturers who've been under a fairly artificial limitation are not able to capitalize on the opportunity in their own country and get the right platform to go international. So it is a threat as well. But honestly speaking, we all have to buckle up and ensure that we are working hard towards our position and our market in that broad sense. So I would treat it as both, and I'm cautiously optimistic more than being sort of negative, because when you innovate, when you work hard towards building specific advantages which are not just locally sustainable but globally relevant, I think you don't have to fear your position as much. You just have to trade market share, which you'll probably go and trade in their market, and you'll let go of something over here. So that's what's likely to happen. Prem, Vikram, Govind, please jump in to share your thoughts.
So what Ankit said is totally true, and a lot of FDI and as well as these manufacturers at component level and the aircraft, I mean, all together in a software level will jump into Indian market because it's opening up at a fairly fast acceleration, right, compared to the other countries which are leading right now at this drone segment. So I think we all need to be ready for that, and we need to face that, right? Anyways, so yeah.
I see it's a good opportunity only, so that all the people coming to India, so that Indian ecosystem will flourish and people match with them and try to bring the expectations and reality together. And also, it also gives a good healthy competition, I feel, because then actually because uh, I feel like we have been competing with the domestic, so it's better to compete with the international and show that the better systems, because we have because entire world depends technology on India, and we have tech and brains, so we can make things better. For short term, for 6 months or 1 year, they might be dominating us, but we'll be hitting back and we'll do better. Is what I feel with this PLI scheme.
Yeah, so one last point to add on is basically, I think it's really opened up an opportunity for foreign companies to look at Indian market, because we all know India is one of the biggest consumer market in the world, right? So the opportunity will only expand, and it's also for foreign companies for them to expand their business value proposition, right? So by collaborations or JVs or whatever that we need to call. So it's basically creating both support system, ecosystem development, and it's also going to be their portion of expansion of their business value, right? So taking into all of these consideration, I think I came across some article today as well, maybe some foreign direct investments coming in. So I'll probably share it across once I get the link or something. So I think it's already moving. I mean, in the space, Mineral, I think I know you coordinate. So if it is of any help, I mean, and also everyone, if it's of any help, happy to help. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the last point on FDI and the attractiveness of the segment, Pranal, I feel that the enterprise segment will remain attractive as we prove use cases on the enterprise segment. I do expect that things are going to really, really look very healthy for people who are focused on purely enterprise. Anyone who has a little bit of that government flavor to their product or services, it's going to remain slightly lukewarm. Unfortunately, it's my expectation over the years of experience.
But majority of use cases are relevant to governments with the drone. That's
It's just what it is, right? We
Just
really
one
can't
thing
change
to
that.
just one thing to add for all of us who are on the panel, as well as the for all other young startups who are coming up. I mean, we have to shift the thinking process of only serving Indian market versus, I mean, serving the global market, as Neil was also mentioning in the earlier session. So I think we all need to be ready, and that's only when we can compete with these kind of global players who are coming to India, because they are already global. And if we are only thinking about competing with them in India, then it's not a right thing. So ultimately, I think we need to build solutions which are, let's say, for world, and then only we'll be able to compete with the world players.
On that note, Mukul, we hand the floor back to you.
Thank you, Ankit. That was a wonderful, wonderful session. And I think your idea of bringing in startups and asking you questions instead of you asking them questions worked brilliantly well. We got a lot of content. I think a lot of startups got a lot of answers. Thank you, Ankit, for chairing this session so beautifully. Thank you, Vikram. Thank you, Prem. Thank you, Govind. Thank you, Manail, for being a part of it. Before we say goodbye for the day and head on to the flight of drones, I would like to ask all of you just one question. Where do you think the drone industry in India is today, and where do you think the drone industry would be 1 year from now? Starting with Ankit.
I think, while the Honorable Minister was announcing the PLI scheme, he mentioned that the current manufacturing size of the industry would be close to about 60 crores today. And my expectation is that in a year, that number should jump to 300 plus easily, and she'll probably cross significantly higher marks over the subsequent years. So yeah, that should itself say volumes about how this is going to scale up.
So I think, I mean, the overall industry will grow 5x plus in 1 year, in next 1 year, and that is the kind of hockey stick growth we'll see in next 1 year, definitely.
So I think it will be like IT industry, like entire world is depend on in India. Everything like we're gonna have a huge drone engineers or drone like developers who works on the drone related kind of applications and build certain softwares and like enterprise softwares or kind of a thing where India is the best for it. I think so. I think all the numbers which the DGC of MOCA or Minister been saying will become twice or thrice. I feel because they're still consultants of. Still, I feel that optimistic, but I feel it's going to increase because we're going to be the talent pool for the world.
Right. I believe there is a huge opportunity for making in India, but making it, selling it for the world, right? If you can sell enterprise solutions in India, you can definitely scale it elsewhere. And I think with drones and with incentivization and opening of the sector, I think that in the next couple of years, we'll definitely see a hockey stick growth across all ecosystem players. Is our point.
I think it's the LPG timeline, the liberalization, privatization, globalization for drone industry. That's the way I see it, though, in terms of how we were in 91 for the IT sector. It's going to be for the drone sector going forward. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Ankit, once again. Thank you, Vikram, Mirnal, Prem, and Govind for being a part of this discussion today. This is one of those days when I think that we should have dedicated more time to this cause, because I think there are a lot of questions that have still remain unanswered. But until next time, I would like to thank once again Electronics for You, Electronics B2B, and Fiki for making this possible today. Unless we meet next time, I hope you have safe drone flights. Take care.
Thanks.